All right, this is Stan Cunningham with Cunningham Outdoors, and this is for the more recent participants in my bear workshop in Katmai. If somehow you stumbled onto this on YouTube, you're welcome to watch it. It may not make any sense to you. Maybe it will. Okay, I talked to you guys up in Alaska about a couple things. Some of you were asking about critiques. This is the internet site that I used for years, literally 4 or 5 years, to get critiques on my photographs. This is birdphotographers.net. It's gotten a little expensive, so I think it's $40 a year, so I'm not a member anymore. But it was the best place I've ever found for critiques. I know Rebecca said she had a system that she's very comfortable with, and that's fine. But this is an area where I not only got critiques on my photos, but I watched other people post photos and watched critiques on theirs. I learned what a good photo was. You can see they have several different forums: avian, eager to learn, which is where I started off at; wildlife, which is where you probably post a bear picture. There's a few there's posted from this year already. This guy, Morkel Erasmus, is probably one of my more favorite photographers in the world. He's in South Africa. Steve is from the UK, and Rachel is more of a bird photographer from New England. But just to switch on wildlife, whoops, and it's not coming up for some reason. There we go. You see this little thread here, and here's one of Morkel's. So he's one of the moderators. You can see this beautiful picture of an elephant in Mana Pools. Sometimes I really hate this guy. But he's getting comments, negative comments back on what I consider a beautiful picture, that the star is overwhelming the photo, which has some merit to it. Anyway, I just wanted to show you that. And the next area I wanted to show you before I got into pictures is the Nick collection, which I'll be using to bring out those eyes quite a bit. Here's the URL, google.com /Nick collection. You can download it for free. The only ones I really use are Viveza and color effects. I also will use silver effects if I go to black and white. I've never used analog. I have used Define a little bit. I don't really like Sharpener. I think it's too strong. And so this is, if you want to find this and download it, you can have it for free. I personally like using it in Photoshop rather than Lightroom, although you can use them in both. If I use them in Lightroom if I'm not planning on taking the photo to Photoshop. But I like having layers that I can turn on and off and adjust the opacity, which you can't really do in Lightroom. As you guys saw, I import all of my photos into Lightroom. I had about 1,500. There's a time lapse there. No, close to 2,000. I'm down to I don't know, 300 or 400 now. I use keywords a lot, and I use the rating system a lot, the filters, to find my photos. This is just one backup hard drive, and I've got, let's see, just on this one I've got 50,000 photos. Overall, I've got close to 200,000 photos. The best way I found to find photos is to use the filters in the text. So all of the bear pictures, if I come over here and I look at the keywords, I've got brown bears, cubs, and then the general area. I probably should add the year 2016. You guys recognize this photo. This is one of them we talked about. And I'm going to go over it here in a little bit. I went through, and the keywords I used were brown bears, cubs. I also used chase. So if I go up here and I add text, this is from work I was doing this morning on horses, but if I add chase, what this brings up is every bear photo I have where the bear was running in the water and trying to get, well, now I've got some bears that this certainly isn't a chase, but somehow I got it as a keyword. But it just brings those up for me much quicker. And then I added, another one I added was sockeye, because I wanted to be able to go through and find every bear photo I had that had a fish in its mouth or in its paws or was right in front of the bear. And those were the keywords I used. You can use any you want. I also use the star rating system quite a bit. Every photo, as I look through it, will get a rating the first time. I usually end up deleting anything less than 2 stars. Some people never delete anything, but I've just got too many photos, so I do. Generally, the only ones I will work on at any interest are 4s and above. 3s are ones, now I keep photos that a lot of people wouldn't, I think, because of my teaching. So if it tells a story, and I will give it a 3, and I might use it for teaching. 4s, and then 5s are one that I definitely want to really look at when I'm deciding which ones I'm going to process completely. Another thing I really like about Lightroom is here is one series. You can see that this bear that I don't think is ugly to some particular person, and it's all the same scene. And so when I first looked up this picture, I really love this, the way he's looking at this fish. He's not in great focus on this particular picture, but I get it back on the next picture. Now what I will do is on that first picture, when I'm just bringing him into Lightroom, I will go ahead and go into develop, and I will select, let's get him out of the 100%. I will adjust temperature, I will adjust exposure. I think you will find it advantageous for all of you to really reduce the highlights, and that's to get that glare off the water. The other thing I think you'll find it very helpful is to increase shadows. You can go all the way up. It starts to get a little weird towards the end. But that's, again, to bring out those, let's go to the one that's a little more in focus. To bring out the eyes, and when it starts to get weird, you can adjust the whites, you can adjust the blacks. The ones I almost always use are temperature, highlights, shadows. Now I usually heavier on clarity and vibrance, but clarity on wet bears just doesn't look very good. And you can see saturation is 0. That's my particular preference. I know a lot of people add saturation. I rarely add saturation. If I am going to add saturation, I might do something like this, where I go in on this fish and I want to bring up the red a little bit. So I'll click on this and bring up that, or I can just adjust it manually. But I personally am not a big saturation person. I will also use their curves. So again, if I want to reduce these highlights on the water, I will come down quite a bit, maybe even a little bit on the lights. You can also adjust them up here as much as possible. I like their curve because it rarely moves in the middle, which means you don't have to do a whole lot. Obviously we have a gull there, which I'm going to have to get rid of, but this gull will be a piece of cake to get rid of in Photoshop. So that is really what I've got, I went through and I went and marked some with colors that I wanted to go over with you guys to show you how to bring out the eyes and just the general flow of what I do when I bring into Photoshop. So I'm going to go to Photoshop. I've already got a bunch of images up there. Here's our red bear, and I did want to show you that yes, I've seen him before. This is 2013, and Rebecca, I bet you have a picture of him from 2012 as well, and I think that's the same bear. His ears are wider now, but it's 3 years later, and remember that's one of the aging criteria you use, is how wide the ears are apart. That color, the reason I feel kind of confident in this is the same bear, is that color is very rare. I have not seen maybe 1 or 2 bears other than him that have that color, and they weren't anywhere close. Okay, so I kind of like this particular photo. It's got good focus to it. It's got a fish. I hate that he removed the back, but and I'm not even sure I'm going to process it, but I wanted to show you. I'm going to go over about 4 photos here on the eyes, and you should be plenty sick of it by then. Before you do anything on the eyes, though, let me go to some other bears here, and you start adding any other layers, you want to get rid of anything you want to clone out. So this particular bear, and if we go back here to Lightroom, excuse me, I was going to show you a couple things here. This particular bear, I had 2 of them. I had this one, and I had this one, and I go through at 100% in Lightroom, even when they're similar, because with that 7D2 I can take a lot of pictures in a hurry. So I have a lot of similar pictures. This one's in sharper focus, so this is the one that I went forward with. And then I got sidetracked, and I apologize for that. If I go back to G and take off the yellow, what I was mentioning up here with this series is once I get this one how I like it with all the adjustments in Lightroom, I will go ahead and go back to the library. I will select all of these and I will sync it. Sometimes you want to leave your crop off. All of these pictures you're seeing have already been cropped, but it's that just saved me hours by not having to go through and adjust every photo that I might want to keep. And there was one other photograph that I wanted to show you. One of the things that you want to do when you're with water, what is going on here? Pardon me. I'm not sure why this has gotten, I'm going to take attribute, oh, I know why. I've got text on. That makes perfect sense. The one thing you want to make sure of is that you've got it level, and that's because I had to go through and adjust this one on the angle. I just took this here and close. If I reset it, you can see that it's just slightly. Lakes don't do that. Now your river, Funnel Creek will. Funnel Creek will definitely be going down quite a little bit, but lakes are never unlevel. So that's one of the things I always look for. Kind of embarrassed when you put up a picture and somebody notices, hey, your lake is at an angle. So you want to avoid that. So we'll go back to Photoshop since I'm regressing all over myself. But I'm going to go ahead and clone some things. Now, there's several tools I use. This one, I could use a Lasso Tool and just content aware, so hit delete, it's gone. Another thing I could use, Let's get my history here. And we'll go ahead and put it back in. Yep. On sometimes a smaller area, I like the patch tool, where you just pull it over this way. Same thing, you setting it for content aware. I only use the clone tool when it's a really small area, and I'm not going to get into that. But the lasso and the patch tool to me are very important. There's nothing really else that I want to do with this picture, so I'm going to go ahead and deselect this, and then I'm going to go right to the eyes, which is what I think you guys are really watching this for. So I'm going to look at the bear's eyes, and I'm going to look at the fish eyes and see what I can do. Now, before I bring up Viveza or select any eyes to lighten them or anything else, the first thing I'm going to use is this triangle, which is the Sharpen tool. Normally the Sharpen tool is it's under blur, so you're going to have to select it. Remember, you want the strength really low, and you're going to just sharpen the eyes. Now, do it in small doses because you can over sharpen it. And if you over sharpen it and you do it in small doses, it's easier in history to go back and pick up to where it still looked good. If you do it all at once and never take your hand off the mouse, you're not going to like it. Another area you might want to sharpen, that sometimes I do, is the nose, just to shine it up a little bit. Be careful of sharpening water. I don't like that. So I'm going to go back out, and I see a little bit of difference. Remember, I think you have to see these. Someone told me you see these as watercolor brushes, not paint brushes, these tools in Photoshop. So the next tool I'm going to go to, and I've got one off, but you're not going to be able to see, is the Nick collection, is Viveza. I can increase this if I wanted to. I don't really see the need to, but I'll do it this first time. I'm going to take one of these control points right here, click on the control point, come over and put it right in between the eyes. I'm going to use this slider and I'm going to reduce it. I'm not going to really worry about lightening the fish's eyes. I've probably done as much to the fish eye as I'm going to go to. I'm going to use the shadow adjustment key and increase it just a tiny bit. Very, very slight on the brightness, because that's very easy. You can add some saturation if you've got a good enough quality photo. I was pretty far from this bear. This bear is pretty much cropped, so I don't use a whole lot of saturation. I hit OK. And we'll see what it looks like. Brings out the eye a little bit. I'm not sure that this needs any more lightening as far as the area of the bear's head. So the next thing I'm going to do is I'm going to go ahead and zoom in using the Z key. I'm going to use the Lasso Tool, and I'm just going to slowly draw around the eye. Then I'm going to hit Command J because I'm on a Mac, Control J on Windows, and then I've got this new layer over here. I'm going to click on the layer. In the blend mode, I'm going to hit screen. Way too weird. At least 50%, probably 70, sometimes 80. Okay. I won't really know how good it looks or bad it looks until I go back out. Command 0. Again, I'm seeing a lighter eye. Now, I don't know that I need to do it this time, but I can come back here and still on this layer. And come back in and zoom in. You can see now you're just looking at pixels. I've done this several times with different pictures. I don't know. I didn't practice on these pictures. I wanted to get this posted for you guys as soon as possible. And I just select the white area. And then I will go up in Image and Adjustments, and I'll hit Brightness. And then I will brighten that white area. And what that does is it just brings it up a little bit. Now you can move that brightness slider quite a bit. because your opacity is set down to about 20%. So it's not going to make near as much difference. Turn off the marching ants, and you can see the white is a little easier to see, and that's all I wanted. Let's go ahead and do this on another bear. Let's go back to our red bear. Nothing here I really want to clone. Maybe this thing, but I don't worry about this kind of stuff near as much. So I'm going to go right to the triangle. I'm going to zoom in. If you have a catch light, and there's a little bit in this bear, it really can bring it out. And I'm just moving it a little bit. You can see the pupil is coming out a little bit. You can see a little bit of the light is being brought out. I come back out. Not a dramatic difference, but it's going to help. Maybe use it on the eye to bring out that black a little bit. The Sharpen Tool is very good on the claws too as well. So then I go back into the filters, Nick Collection, Viveza, or let's use the other one. Let's use Color Effects Pro. There's always, as you guys know, there's about 100 ways to do anything on Photoshop or Lightroom. This one's a little bit slower. I'm gonna put that there. Okay, this is one of my favorite tools. So you come over here to Place Center, click on it, take your arrow, your plus sign, put it right in the middle of the bear's eyes. You can adjust the border luminosity, and what it's doing is it's darkening it around the outside and it's lightening it here. So maybe you think it needs to be lighter, or maybe you think it needs to be not so much light. The default is 25% lighten and 50% dark. I kind of like it. It's a vignette. It's a way to cheat and get a vignette. I'm going to go ahead and do that. And I don't know why it's taking so long. The machine is usually quicker than this. Okay, now I'm liking this a lot more. The bear's eyes are very obvious to me. So now I'm going to go in. I'm not going to use Viveza. And again, I'm having a slow machine here. I'm going to go in. I'm going to lasso these eyes. And holding the shift key, I'm going to, I'm in trouble here, which is a pain while I'm recording. And now I've got both eyes, Command J, new layer. Hit this. I'm not even sure that screen is going to be necessary on this, but I want to go through the process with you guys. Right away down to about 26%. Okay, I like that. Now, I was too far away to bring out the saturation in the bear's eyes on the last picture. This picture is not cropped. So I'm going to go into adjustments. I'm not going to hit brightness or contrast. What I am going to do is go into saturation, and I'm going to saturate these eyes. And again, the only thing you can bring it up a lot. I got plus 65 because remember the opacity of this thing is turned down to about 20%. So, and you're just going to have to play with it to see what you like. I like that. Okay. And the other thing I'm going to bring out is come on, it is not liking, is the contrast, and that's to bring out those pupils. Remember, you're going to have to slide it a long way because you have your opacity turned down so far. You can make another layer if you want. I mean, that's two ways to skin the cat. So this picture is looking a lot better. There's probably a few other things I would do with it. I always check my levels, make sure that the colors are as much as I can. I have no idea what this yellow line is right here. All right, here's another photo. Okay, this is that sow. We've got some issues here that we're going to want to clone out. So here we're going to take, we're going to lasso it, hit delete, use content aware, boom, it's gone. This one is going to take a little bit more work. Lasso the major bird. Okay. Now that is a problem. I don't like that. So I'm going to go back to history and I'm going to delete that. Probably going to try and, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. You guys are mainly looking at the, I'm going to use the patch tool and I'm going to do this much slower and over a longer period of time to make sure that that gull is gone. But I don't like it in there. It will be gone. Okay, well, see, the lasso brought up something terrible, so I'm going to delete it. Anyway, hit Z, press your mouse, and usually it zooms right in for you. So I'm going to hit, I'm going to probably use color effects again. Now the reason I'm using color effects is if you create that layer with only a 20% opacity before you use color effects, you have to flatten the image or it won't work, because your next layer will only be 20% opacity. So I avoid that when all possible, and it is moving kind of slow today. So there it is. It's brought out. That's probably about as much as I want to do. I will go into the eyes again. This has been cropped higher than I would really like, but that was our deal that day. I'm going to go around this. I'm in more of a hurry than I normally would be because I don't want this video to be that long. Command J, double click layer, hit screen, reduce the opacity 60 to 70%. While you're in this layer, I'm going to try and bring out the saturation a little bit. Get a little color there, worked a little bit. Okay. Contrast. Try and bring out that black pupil. I've even painted the black pupils black to bring out the eyes a little bit more. It's a lot of different things you could use. Certainly you want to get rid of the bird. You might want to bring out the red of the fish a little bit. And the only thing I wanted to show you on this bear, your wet bears, okay, I'm going to flatten this image and then I'm going to reduce the size. And so what I'm going to show you is sharpening. So generally I've got it about 1500 aside. Go back up. Now I'm going to sharpen this image like I'm going to put it on the web. Do not try and sharpen a full-size image or you won't like it. Avoid getting too much water. You don't, sharpened water looks really strange. It's way too many highlights. So I'm going to create again another layer. When I sharpen, I always create a smart filter because it seems like sharpening is the one thing that after I export to a JPEG that I want to come back in and change. So most people with wildlife would use the unsharp mask. I would highly recommend it. You can try anything else you want. You can get it to where it looks absolutely terrible. Sharpen is all based on preference, and I don't know any way to explain to you when it looks good, when it looks bad. You're going to have to kind of decide that yourself. This doesn't look bad to me, so I will keep it. Now you saw though when I only set it at 56%. That's not very high. The reason I put this bear in, this bear has not, this is a porcupine nose, and this bear has not been in the water yet. So let's reduce the size of this just to show you. So that's a full image. Go back up. I'm going to use the quick selection tool to again just select the bear. I don't care about the rest of the bear. I certainly don't want water to look like it's been sharpened. I'm going to just create a layer so that that bear is the only one. His eyes obviously need to be lightened, but you guys are pros at that by now. I'm going to use the I'm going to create a smart filter, and then I'm going to use unsharp mask. And you can see 56 looks like it hardly makes a difference. And 143 is looking a little bit better, but a little too much. 119. You can just, when you have an unwet bear, the easiest way to see it, a bear that hasn't been in the water yet, it looks much better sharpened. This is what, 200% when this image isn't that good. To be 200%, there it is at 100%, and it is, the bear is in sharp enough focus for that. And you can see the sharpening really helps. These wet bears, you may not be, don't go crazy with a sharpener or clarity. It just doesn't look that good. And avoid getting a bunch of sharp water dots, I can just tell you from experience. I'm going to cut there. I'll be glad to look at photos. Tomorrow is the start of school year. I don't have classes for a week, but I'm in meetings. I guess I'm only saying that, so please be patient. I'd love to see them. I'd love to get into the Dropbox folder and look at them, but please be patient with my replies. And I hope this helps. So excuse me while I turn this off because I'm not an expert at QuickTime. Bye.